Welcome everyone to today's webinar, Taking Your Org Charts to the Cloud. So today we'll be taking you through the advantages of moving from an on-premise charting solution to a cloud-based solution, and also what is involved from a migration or a new implementation perspective. And we will also be introducing you to some of the new features available through our cloud-based solution. Okay, so let's just start with a little bit of housekeeping. We will certainly be addressing questions, not during the webinar, but we've got some time saved towards the end. So just click the Q&A in the bar menu, write down your question and click send, and we'll be able to see those and answer those at the end of our presentation today. Okay, so on the call today, on the webinar today, is myself. So I head up the org charting sales team here at Navigo. I look after OrgPlus Enterprise and Planning at Work from account management perspective, and look after our org charting customer base. We've also got Billy on the call today, so our special guest. So Billy is our key product consultant for our org charting tools. He looks after technical support for all of our org charting products from desktop right through to Planning at Work. He also looks after implementations of our enterprise solutions, and he's also been involved with transitioning some of our on-premise OrgPlus Enterprise customers across to the cloud-based Planning at Work tool. So, with that in mind, let's actually have a look at the three different org charting tools that we currently work with. So starting from the left-hand side, we've got OrgPlus Desktop. So OrgPlus Desktop is a tool which enables you to create org charts automatically from a data source, as long as that data source has a reporting structure. So you're able to create basic workforce analytics views from the metrics stored in your data source, and also bring that information to life using conditional formatting and calculated formulas. Sharing the org charts is manual with OrgPlus Desktop, so once you've actually created the chart, you need to then export that chart out to a format such as PDF or PowerPoint, or the OrgPlus native format, which can be viewed using the free viewer that's available for OrgPlus Desktop. You're also able to export to Excel as well if you need to actually create an Excel report from the org chart that you've created. So OrgPlus Desktop is a fantastic solution for organisations from around the 50 staff mark to around 500 staff. So OrgPlus Enterprise is the enterprise version of OrgPlus Desktop. So it has all of the functionality of OrgPlus Desktop, but also adds a centralized security management area using role-based security, which enables automated sharing and socializing of your charts. OrgPlus Enterprise also offers additional modules for organization restructure, workforce planning, succession planning, and also being able to compare historical points in time of how your organization looked at that historical point in time, and also create a report detailing the differences between those 2 points in time. And then lastly, we have Planning at Work. So Planning at Work is our cloud-based solution. It's not OrgPlus Enterprise. It is heavily based on OrgPlus Enterprise and offers all of the functionality of OrgPlus Enterprise plus a little bit more. So it offers a much more modern, easy-to-use user interface for your end users. Also worth noting is that new functionality is also being added in each new release of the solution. Planning at Work also offers the additional modules similar to OrgPlus Enterprise. These include Plan and Model, which is the workforce modelling tool, succession planning, and also archive and compare. So any organisation from 500 staff upwards will benefit from the workflow and functionality offered from an enterprise tool, on enterprise solution. But in saying this, our smallest enterprise customer is charting around 300 records. So it really does depend on your requirements and what you're looking to achieve. Okay, so let's have a little look at the enterprise workflow. So this slide here, if we start from the left-hand side, so you've got your information, which would usually be stored in your HRIS or payroll system. That can be pushed into Planning at Work. Now, it is possible to set up a fully automated data refresh workflow as well, so you can actually automate that process of pushing the information into Planning at Work. It's also very easy to, if you have a manual process, a couple of minutes is all it takes to manually refresh your charts in Planning at Work. Okay, so once the data's in Planning at Work, it then fulfills all of the different view templates and updates all of those templates that you've created from the one extract, and then from there you're then utilising your role-based security to share the charts across the organisation. As you can see, we've got 3 different colours for our little people icons on the slide. So each one of those would represent a different role, which would have different levels of access to the different view templates you've created in the tool. And also it's also possible to push the information through your company intranet as well. So for your basic user, it's a fantastic corporate directory, which you can include photos and obviously an org chart, so your employees can see where they sit in the organisation. So everything, so it is possible to have a completely automated process from your source of truth, your HRIS or payroll system, through to your end user, which is what this tool looks to achieve. All right, let's now have a quick poll. So what we're going to do is we just want to determine, just from our audience today, who is using what for org charting, just so that we can get a feel for that. So you should see a poll on screen now. So if you can just quickly go through and select what tool you're using, and we'll share those results with you in a few seconds. All right, thank you very much for that. So we've actually got quite an even split between OrgPlus Enterprise, OrgPlus Desktop, other org charting tools, and also the last one, they don't have an org charting tool. So thank you very much for sharing that information. So obviously, for those of you that don't have an org charting tool currently, or have another org charting tool, the rest of this webinar will still be very valid for you, as we will be discussing some of the key features and functionality available in Planning at Work. So thank you very much for that. All right, now let's get our special guest Billy involved, and we'll have a look at the differences between cloud-based on org charting solutions and on-premises. Okay, so firstly, Billy, how does using a cloud-based solution affect total cost of ownership?
Yeah, so a cloud-based solution like Planning at Work is more cost-effective. With cloud solutions, the cost of infrastructure is included in the subscription cost. There are no other costs associated with managing the infrastructure.
Okay, excellent. So what infrastructure is required for OrgPlus Enterprise, as an example?
For OrgPlus Enterprise or other on-prem solutions, you would need multiple servers, environments, databases, as well as staff to fix and maintain the application, all at your own cost.
Okay, great. So what does maintenance include for cloud, for Planning at Work?
So cloud maintenance includes maintaining your host environment. New releases are fully tested by the vendor before rolling out, and in regards to Planning at Work, a lot is being invested in research and development. You'll always have the most up-to-date version of the service automatically without having to wait for your IT or service provider to perform upgrades.
Okay, great. So just so that we're comparing apples with apples, what is involved in performing a version upgrade for OrgPlus Enterprise?
So there's a lot of time and effort involved in OrgPlus Enterprise. Performing a version upgrade in OrgPlus Enterprise will require an IT resource, either internal or an external one, for example, Navigo. The work required for your upgrade will be dependent on what version you are moving from, how many environments you have set up, such as test, dev, or production, as well as managing the maintenance of your associated servers and databases. All user acceptance testing will be needed to be performed internally.
Okay, great. So that sounds like a fair bit of work there, Billy. So how does that workflow look when using Planning at Work?
So as Planning at Work is a software as a service product, the testing and upgrade is handled by the vendor Saba. Usually a minimum of 2 weeks notice is provided to our customers, and generally the downtime is over a weekend, only lasting about 2 hours.
Right, okay, so quite a big difference there then in terms of not only infrastructure required, but also the in regards to the staff that need to manage that. Excellent, thanks for that, Billy. So in regards to end user access, who can access and where?
So similar to OrgPlus Enterprise, Planning at Work is an unlimited user license, so it is possible to roll out to the entire workforce, and you are able to utilize single sign-on. Where Planning at Work is different to OrgPlus Enterprise is that OrgPlus Enterprise is hosted on your internal servers, so it's only available to that network, as opposed to Planning at Work, which is a browser-based application, accessible anywhere on any network.
Okay, excellent. Alright, so when looking at moving existing OrgPlus Enterprise customers to Planning at Work or to the cloud, how would this actually affect ongoing costs?
So as it's a cloud-based product, it's going to be more cost-effective. With the cloud solution, the cost of infrastructure is included in the subscription cost. No other costs are associated with managing the infrastructure. Also, Planning at Work subscription license fee is comparable to OrgPlus Enterprise.
Okay, excellent. So what you're saying there then, Billy, is that the price for Planning at Work is pretty much the same as OrgPlus Enterprise, but you're saving quite a bit on all of the peripheral things that you
correct.
Yep, excellent. Okay, great. So what is happening with the development of OrgPlus Enterprise?
So OrgPlus Enterprise is now end of life in regards to developing new functionality. We'll occasionally get new releases of OrgPlus Enterprise, maybe once or twice a year, but these releases are solely dealing with bug fixes and compatibility issues.
Right, okay, so OrgPlus Enterprise is, just to confirm, OrgPlus Enterprise is not being developed functionality-wise anymore?
No, it's not.
Okay, excellent. So how do the new releases compare between OrgPlus Enterprise and Planning at Work?
So Planning at Work, on the other hand, we're seeing about 1 or 2 releases per quarter. The main goal on the development roadmap is moving to HTML5, but functionality is still being actively developed for Planning at Work. Also worth noting is that the vendor will thoroughly test these new versions before it is released to you, meaning that time is saved by your organization. For OrgPlus Enterprise, there is a slow turnaround with bug fixes, which are very sporadic. Once again, it's only once or twice a year, and no end-user functionality is being developed.
Okay, excellent. So by the sounds of things, then is the vendor is spending most of their time and resources developing Planning at Work. Would that be a fair comment?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So how do system requirements compare between OrgPlus Enterprise and Planning at Work?
So OrgPlus Enterprise will not work on all browsers, still need to use Internet Explorer for a lot of the functionality. Planning at Work will work on all browsers. As mentioned before, Planning at Work can be accessed on any network as long as you have an internet connection, whereby OrgPlus Enterprise end users are restricted to the internal networks.
Right, okay, so that sort of goes on to our next question too. What are the key differences in end user accessibility between OrgPlus Enterprise and Planning at Work?
So OrgPlus Enterprise will... as I had mentioned just before, that it's the key differences for the user access is in the browsers. So OrgPlus Enterprise will be restricted to Internet Explorer.
Okay.
for most of the functionality, otherwise very basic functionality in Firefox or Chrome, whereas Planning at Work will be available across all browsers as it uses Silverlight or HTML5.
Excellent, which we're assuming can be used anywhere as long as you have an internet connection.
Correct.
Fantastic. Okay, so what about the differences for the administrator?
So the admin area has been streamlined in Planning at Work. All functionality is available in Planning at Work that was available in OrgPlus Enterprise, but is presented in a much more logical fashion. And lastly, the chart creation tool in OrgPlus Enterprise is 10 years older than it looks it. Planning at Work, on the other hand, has a very easy-to-use, intuitive tool embedded in Planning at Work.
Okay, great. So what does OrgPlus Enterprise use to run the application, and how does this compare to Planning at Work?
So OrgPlus Enterprise was originally built on .NET Framework and is still using .NET 3.5. This is a very old development language, which is restricted from a security perspective, and often will only be present on your servers just for OrgPlus Enterprise, as most other applications would have moved off this development framework. Planning at Work uses Silverlight or HTML5, depending on which browser you use. The vendor is looking to move all functionality to HTML5 as soon as possible, as Silverlight is now end of life. This enables support for modern browsers and allows for more functionality.
Okay, excellent. So, Billy, can you give us some examples of additional functionality and better end user interface?
Yes, of course. So for this, we'll switch to Planning at Work and just have a live demo. Okay, so as you can see, it's more of a modern look on your org charts with the main body of the chart similar to OrgPlus Enterprise. From here, we'll have our legend where we can turn on and off the conditional formats. This wasn't available in OrgPlus Enterprise. You used to have to build completely different charts if you want to turn these features off. So just by ticking a box, we can enable a new box type to be present. Okay, so with this box, you can see that they're using these mini charts. This is just being pulled from your formulas already created in Planning at Work, and right now we're comparing the FTE roll-up to headcounts. Also then a breakdown on all the employment types. I believe Patricia.
Okay, excellent. Just on that, these graphs within the charts themselves, is that possible in OrgPlus Enterprise or OrgPlus Desktop?
No, there's nothing like that.
Okay, so this is a feature that's specific to Planning at Work.
Correct.
As well as the being able to turn off the conditional formats on and off. Okay.
Yep. So as well as turning on and off box size, we can switch on filters to actually change the content being displayed. So in this example, we're going to remove all the contractors from our calculations. So you may have noticed Amanda Wagner is now faded in her box, and there's no contractors in the graphs anymore. Okay. So as well as filters, we can switch off fields. So we can just quickly turn off the full names from the boxes, and that can now be shared as a new chart.
Right, so if you're, for example, if the end user wanted to share a chart with the union or something like that, it's easy as just going to that fields column and switching off that name field there. So, Billy, just to confirm, if you wanted to do that in OrgPlus Enterprise, just get rid of the name field, what would you have to do?
So again, you'd have to create a whole new view for that. So you have to go through the full process of setting up the design of the view and actually loading it into OrgPlus Enterprise.
Right, so you'd have to create a whole new view template.
Yes, correct.
Okay, right. Okay, so that's just for our viewers today. That's a very good example of where Planning at Work is more flexible for the end user than OrgPlus Enterprise.
Yep, and again, this is all available for all users, not just admin.
Correct, yes,
Yep.
for all end users, yep.
Yep. And so, as well as the actual chart being updated, they brought in the directory and org tree modules into the visualize section. So along the bottom here, we have a shared list of all the fire wardens and first aid officers. So people can just have a quick reference to actually find who they are in their organisation.
Okay, excellent. So just out of interest there, it looks like there are system lists. So system lists are available to everyone across the organisation.
Yes.
So is it actually possible to build your own system list to share with everyone?
Yes, it is possible to create your own custom system list.
Okay.
So this fire warden and the vacant position ones are ones that we've defined ourselves.
Okay, excellent. So is that functionality possible in OrgPlus Enterprise?
It's not as simple in OrgPlus Enterprise. There is a workaround, but it's not so user-friendly as this.
Right. Okay, excellent. So once again, an example of how planning at work is more flexible for the end user.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Okay. Yes, as it's just a short webinar, that was all we're going to demo today.
Yep.
So we could just go back.
Okay, excellent. So let's now have a look at what's involved in moving existing OrgPlus customers to planning at work. So first of all, if you currently have OrgPlus Desktop or Enterprise set up and have a Navigo built adapter, so an adapter is a tool that sits on, basically what it does is it will extract the information from your source of truth on a scheduled basis and will push the information into OrgPlus to automatically update your org charts. So if you do already have one of those and you're looking to move across to planning at work, we can actually repurpose that existing adapter for instead of pushing the information straight into OrgPlus, to save a CSV file with the data and save that to an SFTP location for planning at work, to extract on a scheduled basis. So that's good. So the adapter that you've already would have invested in can be modified for planning at work. Also, any view template, any chart that you've built in OrgPlus Enterprise, it doesn't matter what conditional formatting or calculated formulas you've applied to that view, they can be completely recreated exactly how they are in planning at work. OrgPlus Enterprise role-based security. So if you're using OrgPlus Enterprise, this obviously this isn't applicable for OrgPlus Desktop, but for OrgPlus Enterprise, your role-based security that you've got set up can be exactly replicated in planning at work. Also, your existing OrgPlus Enterprise modules can also be switched across to planning at work modules which have the same functionality. In fact, some of those planning at work modules have additional functionality that the OrgPlus Enterprise modules do not have. And also too, because OrgPlus Enterprise and planning at work are owned by the same vendor, it means that if you're wanting to move across to planning at work, the vendor is happy for you to leave your OrgPlus Enterprise instance going until planning at work is ready to be rolled out to production. So what that means for you is that there'll be absolutely no downtime in regards to not being able to view or access your org charts for the organisation. All right, so now what we'll do is we're just going to quickly go through what a generic implementation looks like and what is involved. So Billy, I'll hand that back to you.
Yeah, so part of the standard implementation process is that we start off with a discovery session or kickoff meeting where we will have all the key stakeholders from your company as well as Navigo to all meet together and discuss the key milestones and what resources will be involved from your company and us. So from that, we then go and provision the tenant. So we make a request to Saba, the vendor, to create the tenant, and then Navigo will go through and actually set it up for you for the training as well as a sneak peek environment. So once that's been provisioned, we can actually go through the training for you. This will generally be done on site with 1 day user training, 1 day admin training, and then 1 additional day for chart creation consulting. Then if you have any other additional modules, there's going to be additional training for that. While this is all happening, we can go through any additional tasks, such as setting up your single sign-on or your SFTP for the file automation upload.
Excellent. So, Billy, just from your experience, typically how long does this process take from the date that the customer signs the order form?
So this can be all done within a month,
okay.
generally.
Yep. Excellent. So there we go. For an enterprise tool, The implementation is fairly lightweight, and we can get you up and running very, very quickly. All right, thanks again for that, Billy. So we've just got a couple of takeaways for you now. So 4 key things that we want you to take away. First of all, the fact that when you take into consideration having to manage infrastructure, and obviously the staff involved with managing infrastructure and also version upgrades, the total cost of ownership for a cloud-based tool is certainly a lot lower than an on-premise tool. Also too, planning at work is definitely more future-proofed. So obviously we've stressed a few times throughout the webinar today that OrgPlus Enterprise functionality is not being developed at all, whereas the vendor is actively developing functionality within planning at work. And obviously because the vendor do all the testing of the new upgrade before it's rolled out, you're also saving time from having to do that yourself as well. Also too, because it is a more modern tool, I mean OrgPlus Enterprise, as we went through today, runs on a very old development platform, and is starting to look very very dated, and that is not going to change. Whereas Planning at Work is a lot more modern. There's a lot more modern user interface and much faster and easier org charting construction tools embedded in the tool as well. So they're the 4 points that we want for you to take away today. Just before we close off, we will just go through and answer any questions that have come through. Okay, so we've got a one question here, and that is, how much does it cost? So with Planning at Work, the only licensing restriction you have is how many employee records you're able to actually chart, that you're actually able to deal with. So Planning at Work is actually priced on a per record per annum basis, and the fee itself is dependent on how many records you're actually charting. So if you are interested in further details around that, please feel free to touch base with myself, and we will organise that for you. Just had another question come through as well. Is Planning at Work compatible with mobile devices? So there is a iPad and also an iPhone application available. As Planning at Work is moved across to HTML5, there will be more compatibility with other mobile devices over time. But at this stage, it is just compatible with iPads and iPhones at this stage. Okay, so that's all the questions that we have for you today. So just one last slide that we have for you, and that's really just to please take a note of the URL that's on screen at the moment, because this is where we actually save all of our webinars. So if you did want to, if you've registered today and have been unable to attend, there will be a recording uploaded in the next day or so. And also too, if you did want to share this webinar or information with other colleagues, etc. as well, please refer them to the site. Actually, we do have one more question, and would there be other environments available for clients to perform testing? So this is an interesting one. And this is a question that we have been asked by some of our existing customers as well. At this stage, the whole point of a software as a service type workflow is that the vendor does all of that testing for you and has the product basically ready to roll out to production. At this stage, even if there was a testing environment available, because everything's upgraded at the same time, there wouldn't be a point to it, because everything would be upgraded at once, like production and test environment, so there'd be sort of no time in between. So, but yeah, that is one of the key I suppose, features of a software as a service workflow is the fact that you don't actually need to do testing, and that the vendor does all that for you. So I hope that's answered that question there. If you do have any other questions, obviously, please feel free to touch base with myself or my colleague there, Zach Sabry, and be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. All right, well, thanks again, Billy, for helping us on the webinar today, and thank you everyone that has taken the time to attend. I hope you got some valuable information out of today's webinar, and we look forward to your attendance in future webinars. Thanks very much, and have a lovely day.